All right, guys, welcome back to the Web Security Academy lab walkthrough videos. Today, this is going to be the 10th installment and the last video in the examining the database subsection of the SQL injection module. After this, we're going to move on to some really cool stuff in blind SQL injection. But today, we're going to be doing exactly what we did in the last one, but this time it's going to be on an Oracle database instead of a non-Oracle database. So as you might remember from the dumping type and version information, Oracle has a couple quirks that are different than the non-Oracle databases, which all kind of follow the same thing. The Oracle databases are slightly different, and we will go over those once again. However, the same quirks that showed up in that last video are going to show up again here. So if you didn't already do that lab, I'd highly recommend it, and I'd highly recommend going to watch that last video. I believe that one is titled Dumping or Querying Type and Version Information on Oracle Databases. You'll be able to find that within this playlist, but I would recommend you do that one first. So as you can see, we have the lab loaded up here. We're going to go over to burp and make sure our intercept is off right now, or make sure the intercept is on. It's off right now. So we'll turn that on. The SQL injection is going to be in the categories parameter per usual. So I'll just go ahead and click on lifestyle here. We're going to open up burp. We're going to control R to send that to repeater, or command R, control R if you're on Windows. Turn the intercept is off. Let those requests go through. We're going to head over to repeater, and now we can set up our SQL injection. So we're going to do that same topic that we should actually be really good at now. This is going to be the union select that we're used to, and we are going to union select null, except for we are on an Oracle database, so we need to be selecting from dual. So if you remember that, that is that default table, we got to be selecting from that for this to work. So we'll go ahead and send this through. That's going to give us an error, I guess. So we will add another null, see if there's two columns. Okay, so it looks like there's two columns. Now let's go ahead and enumerate the types. So I will put a string in the first one, see what we're working with. Okay, looks like we have a string in the first one. Let's go ahead and take this and paste it in here. See if what we have, let's make this a null, see what the second column is if we have two strings. Okay, cool. So it looks like we have two strings. I'm going to just get rid of both of these really quick and make them null again for demonstration purposes. So the next thing that we're going to do, and this is very similar to what we did in the last video, except for this is going to be called table underscore name. So we're still keeping that union select. We're going to grab table name. We're going to keep the second one as null. And then instead of grabbing this from dual, there is another keyword on Oracle called all underscore tables. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be grabbing the table name from, this is going to query the table names from every table that's on this SQL service on the back end. So one important thing to note is there's kind of a hierarchy with SQL, the SQL service itself, if you haven't really recognized that yet. So at the very top, we have the SQL service. And then within that SQL service, you have a bunch of different databases. Underneath those, within each database, you have a bunch of different tables. And then within those tables, you have rows and columns. And then within the rows and columns, you have the data itself. And the end goal is to grab the data itself. However, we need to enumerate what first the tables are, the table names, and then we can start to get the column names and then get the data itself. So this is kind of the first step in the SQL injection process. If you don't know what the table name is, we need to grab this table name. Let's go ahead and send this through. And then this, I'll show you guys, as I showed you in the last one, we can look for a table name called users. We can check all the different matches here. And you can see it's going to be, this is the table name. So that's the quick way of doing it. I'll show it to you in the browser. Here you're going to need to Control F and look for users. We're looking for users with a string after it, and that looks like it's going to be this. So then from this point, we are going to come back over, and now that we know the table name, we can query the table name and look for the column names. So let's come back over here. We're going to union select, instead of table name this time, we're going to type column name. So now we're looking from the column name, but we're not going specifically from all tables. That won't work. What we'll want to do is we'll want to go from this next keyword that's going to be all underscore tab, which is short for table, and then it's underscore columns. So this is going to grab the column names from the all table columns, but we want to narrow that search just like we did last time. So we're going to add a where clause that's going to go where the table name, so that same keyword that we used in the last one, is equal to, we want to put a string and then put our user, or the username, name of the username table in there. So let's grab that. Okay, so now let's save this actually really quick because we're going to need that. We will just paste that in there so it's hanging out. Then we'll send this through. Okay, so now we can check out this in the browser. If you know what you're looking for, feel free to use that search for your convenience. Once again, I'm going to do this for demonstration purposes. Okay, so now we have the username column, name of the username column, and the name of the username or password column. So once again, we'll string this together. We'll come back. Let's just get rid of some of this. So we're going to come back over to our two columns that we're selecting, which we did have column name and null, but now we know the two names here. So let's grab, we're going to select the username. So union select username column, comma, grab that password column name, password name, right? And then we're going to do from, we know the table name now. So we'll grab our username, and we're just going to go from the users table. So what we did here is we have the union select, just like we have been doing. We found out what both the username column is called now and the name of the column for the password. And then we also discovered what the name of the table is. So if we go back to that hierarchy, we first got the name of the table. So to query that table, or to query the columns within that table, we have to know the name of the table. So we retrieved the name of the table, and then we also needed to know, to get the data that is in the columns, we need to know the names of the columns within that table. So we got the names of the columns within that table, and now we're going to string all this together into one SQL injection to get the usernames and passwords of the administrator. So let's send this through. And then again, you can do this and get the password just like this. But I'll show you in the browser. And we got the three users that were in this table, one of them being the administrator. Let's go ahead and copy the administrator's passwords. Just make sure I copied that. We'll go over to my account. We're going to finish this up. Sorry, my camera cut there. But what we had just done is we grabbed the administrator. So I'm just going to type administrator. We'll paste that password that we dumped, and we'll log in just to show you guys that this does work. And we solved the lab there. So join back again tomorrow. We are going to start blind SQL injection and start doing some really cool and complex topics here on this.